Hi there, I'm Marissa Pendlebury and welcome back to the Nourishing channel where I make videos about eating disorder recovery. In today's video I'm going to talk about how to take ownership of your recovery when you're recovering from an eating disorder, which I'm guessing, like myself, it's something you have found difficult to do. So what I mean by taking ownership of your recovery is to really start stepping up your game, challenging yourself and making wholehearted recovery choices without necessarily depending off somebody else. And this can be extremely difficult because if you've spent a large number of weeks, months or years in a setting where you're relying off other people to control your meals, support you with snacks or just guide you to make the quote-unquote right choices around food and exercise, it can be really difficult to then take on that challenge ourselves when the support system or the people who care for us aren't there. And this is something I've experienced so many times, whether that's been, going out to a cafe and being stumped about what to order because I didn't have anyone there to validate the reason why I should be choosing something off the menu. It's also happened at home when no one's there for lunch and I have to challenge myself to something such as a sandwich, a bagel or a hot meal. And it gets really hard because I think for so long we can start to recover, but our recovery choices are kind of governed by someone else who's supporting us. So anorexia or the restrictive eating disorder voice in your mind might be saying, okay, I'll let you go and make that recovery choice, but only when that person is there, and when they're not, I'm going to be at your throat, on your shoulder and telling you off and telling you that you have to eat X, Y or Z or stick to a certain amount of calories. And for me, that kept me stuck for so long, and in some sense it can still be a bit of a struggle. So to give you another example, if I am left on my own for the whole day or I'm out doing work related things, then I find it extra difficult to make recovery-oriented choices that are in the best interest of my own health. And on the outside, it might still look good that I'm eating a lunch or I'm eating a snack and I'm keeping myself well hydrated and not obsessively exercising. I know wholeheartedly that a lot of my choices are still not the best choice that I could make. And this might make sense to you if you've ever made a decision that's based on even just a slight restrictive choice. So you might go and choose something off a menu in a cafe, but you might have actually chosen the lower option in terms of like its calorie density or how small it is, or maybe a certain cake or flapjack item has fruit in it, so you choose that one thinking it's healthier, so you validate it in your own mind. And those choices might look great on the outside because to other people they think that you're doing well, whether you've got someone supporting you or not. But deep down, I think we have to be honest with ourselves and ask ourselves, are we really being true with our own recovery? Are we challenging ourselves enough? And importantly, if other people aren't there to support us, how are we best then able to cope and make decisions that are not only in line with getting physically healthier, but also mentally healthier? Because I know 110% I can eat a recommended number of calories per day without obsessively counting them, but I know that a lot of my food choices during that time have been in the restrictive realm. So I've chosen a safe option for snack rather than a brownie that's on offer, or I've maybe turned down cake at work because I've thought actually no, I'll have my safe snack later on, or I'm having a big tea. And I still in some sense have planned out my day according to what's safe rather than just being able to go with the flow. And this is why I think eating disorders are really, really insidious things. They can creep up on you and no one realises it. And you don't have to be at an extremely low weight to suffer from an eating disorder. And the same is true in recovery, because we can't really take ownership of our recovery if we're still making these small but significant restrictive choices. And although you or myself may be eating, it's the intentions behind what we eat that really matter. And I think that's what helps us define what full recovery is. Because I know for myself, full recovery isn't going to a cafe and bringing a safe snack along with me all the time. And I know normal people might go to cafes and take snacks with them because it's less expensive too. But I know for me, a lot of it is simply because, one, I don't particularly enjoy spending money on myself sometimes. It's something that I think's linked with my past eating disorder and feelings of guilt around self-care. Also, I find that if I've got a safe snack with me, then I don't have the overwhelming choice of choosing something out of, say, the bakery items that are on offer. Because I'd rather have, say, I'm not going to put numbers out there, but say something of a decent number of calories that I think's okay for anorexia, but I don't want to challenge myself to something that's double those calories that might be on the menu, which is stupid because I know that calories do not matter in the slightest. But in the past, calories have massively controlled my food choices, as has the size of things, whether it seems healthy or not. And although I don't suffer as much with those, and I've definitely broken free from a lot of them, in some ways the echo of those, little mini traumas of dealing with an eating disorder are still there. And unless I actively challenge them myself, they will stay hidden and get brushed under the carpet. Because nobody, absolutely nobody, will know your brain like you do. And even now, I've got friends and family and my boyfriend who understand my eating disorder really well. But sometimes even they don't know when I'm making a restrictive choice, such as when it might look like I'm doing well, but I'm still making a choice that's not in line with what Marissa wants, but it's somehow playing small and keeping me inside a little box. And this has happened even recently when I've maybe turned down opportunities to go out for certain meals. I've chose certain places to go out and eat rather than others because I know the menu a lot better there and it's safer. And although again it looks as though, I'm fully recovered to a lot of people, I still have days and times where I need to check in with myself and say, Marissa, are you taking full ownership of your recovery right now? Or are you simply relying on other people to make choices for you? Which, can become great in terms of, elevating the point that you are at recovery. But it can also create a level of dependency where you then only challenge yourself when certain people are there. And a thing I'd really like to do in my own recovery is to get to a point where I don't need anyone there to go and order a cake. I don't have to share a cake or a brownie or order the sad item on the menu because it looks healthier or cleaner. I'd also, as much as I love healthy foods like deliciously Ella balls or things that you can find in Boots or supermarkets that are made of dates and nuts and seeds, I generally find those really tasty to eat, but I don't want to be eating them all the time because it just gets so boring. And also, I've got crumbs in my bag from where I've eaten them and then left the packets in, so that's a bit of a downside as well. But I'd also just like to say here, taking ownership of your own recovery is so vital for just breaking free. Because when you make the decision yourself, it means a lot more to your recovery. Because someone could stand there right next to you, hold your hand, make a food choice for you, or stop you from walking obsessively around the block or going to the gym. But what happens when that person's not there? Does that mean that you're just going to slip back into the disordered behaviour or choose a less self-nurturing option? And if you're kind of questioning, well, I'd feel uncomfortable with making the choice on my own, then that surely is a sign that we really need to step up our game and take ownership of what we do in our lives. Whether that's eating a meal ourselves, preparing something from scratch, not counting the calories, ordering an item off the menu that's goddamn scary just because you know that you need to, and not just because it will meet your calorie quota or your health quota for the day. And this is a place I'd really like to get to in my own recovery, where although I do enjoy eating with people and where I didn't in the past, and that's helped me to get to a positive place in recovery, I want to be able to go to work and just go and get a breakfast on the go. I want to order a latte and a cappuccino instead of an Americano with milk on the side. And I want to be able to go to my favourite little quirky cafe and order the best brownies and not have to take a little fruit and date bowl with me or a homemade cake because it looks safe and healthy. And of course health is important. I know the nation seems to be absolutely obsessed with things like veganism and plant-based things these days, but we can really take that too far. to the point where we start neglecting our psychological needs to just get involved in society, order a goddamn cake when we want to, and not just because it's our birthday. So really this video is just kind of a bit of a wake-up call, not just for you but also for me to say, let's step up our game in recovery. Maybe we can challenge ourselves to, go out, go to Costa Coffee or a local coffee shop and order a cappuccino or something with a syrup in instead of the usual safe choice when we're on our own. And also along with that, actually go and have a cake or something off the bakery. And if you're currently in a situation where you're kind of doing well and other people around you see you doing well, don't take that as validation that you're recovered, because I know for a fact, and I know in my mind definitely knows this, is that I'm sure there's a certain number of rules and regulations that you still have around food, and as small as they may be, whether it's about not going over a certain amount of calories for a snack, or only eating certain food items, or not eating bread twice in a day, or only having things on certain days or around certain times, then those things need to be broken with a hammer if you can. And we need to challenge them regularly, not just once, often. So even if you're eating cake 7 times a day, I'm not going to see that as unhealthy, because I know I need to do that right now to get out of the state that I'm in. And I want all foods to be okay, not just okay on some days or okay in certain quantities or okay when somebody else says, because I need my brain to be okay for me. And I want to be there for when my brain has a little bit of a malfunction, so I can catch myself when I fall and I don't have to rely on someone else to be there. So before I sum up this video, I want to kind of give you a little bit of an insight into some of my own experiences of why relying on others and not upstepping our game in terms of looking after ourselves can be a problem. So if I go back a few years ago, I was in a state where I was always dependent off my mum to prepare foods, to cook foods, to portion foods. And if she wasn't in a certain place at a certain time, or she wasn't at home, or I felt as though I couldn't rely on her for that day, or she was off the ball, my heart rate would get really erratic and I could feel my palms getting sweaty. I would get really stressed, and I just felt like it was such a chore to recover because I was relying off somebody else. And I do know that in some cases we do have to rely on certain people for a certain amount of time in, say, like the former stage of recovery when you're really physically ill. There comes a point when we have to say, look, I'm going to have to make the best decision for me now. Even if your mum, dad or a partner or friend says, here, have this energy bar, that'll be good. If you're thinking, nah, that's actually not enough for me right now and I want the cake, then it's up to you only to go and order that cake, regardless of what someone else has said. Even if it's a dietitian who said that you need to eat X amount of calories a day and you want more, you and only you have to take ownership and say, I'm going to eat more because I know that I need to eat more, because you know you better than anybody. And it's a good thing but also a bad thing, because unfortunately that means that other people can't really see when we're struggling. But on the positive side, it means that we have to empower ourselves to get well and take on recovery orientated choices in a more up-leveling way. And this ultimately makes us much stronger, not just in recovery but as a person. And I know that the more that I tackle fear foods and do things on my own, up-level my recovery, that also translates in the way I'm able to live my life, and I'm able to say yes to things more. I'm not constricted as much around times, and I don't panic as much if I have a safe snack in my bag or not. And I suppose you have to ask yourself, what do you want your recovery to look like? Do you want to be taking safe snacks around in your bag when you're 40 and you've got children and they want an ice cream and you can't join in? Because that's not the life that I want. I want stronger bones, I want children, I want a life that I can love. I don't want a life that's within this small box that anorexia or any other form of restrictive eating disorder is. So, again, I always say this, before I babble on, which I always do, I just want you to really ask yourself the question, are you looking after you? And if the answer's slightly no or definitely no, then I think you have to write down a few things of what you can do to just start empowering yourself to live life in your own way and not how someone else tells you, and definitely not how anorexia tells you to live, because that is just a beast of an idiot that you do not want to live with. So on that note, I just want to thank you for watching this video. I hope it's been helpful, and if you've got any suggestions for future videos, please just comment in the comment box down below. And you can also subscribe to this channel or also visit my website for more recovery orientated tips at www.nourishingroots.com. But in the meantime, have a great week and I'll hopefully see you soon. Bye!